Hello everyone, welcome back to the Chisholm Foundation's About Me podcast, where we talk to different Tibetan individuals about their life, their work, their thoughts on the society and mental health. I'm your host Tenzin Tsedup. To talk to a very special person. Now, if you're a lover of podcasts like me, you may have heard about Puja podcast. And if you know Puja podcast, you may be familiar with Tsedub. Tsedub is a college student in the United States, and him and his friends started the Puja podcast, Puja podcast as a group was formed by a few North Virginia DC students who are passionate about making a just cause for Tibet and making the Tibetan youth stay engaged. Puja podcast, which almost started a year ago today, have had some big names on the interview list, and we, the Chisholm Foundation, are honored to talk to the person who has interviewed them. Welcome, Mr. Tenzin Tsedup.
여기 introduction 야구 쇼이랑 아직 가야죠 지요.
I tried my best.
Thank you.
Yeah. सिर्फ थांशे तक क्वेश्चन रोजिगिना या किरण त नगे interview list lasa one na the interview list na kiran ta interview ma buchire, but one of the person I wanted to mention was Tamachuder, which you interviewed 2 months ago, right? Ani what attracted to you the Lamachuder la interview che ga reason the Chisholm Foundation, right? What attracted you to Chisholm Foundation? Why did you want to talk about Chisholm Foundation?
아 Chisholm Foundation the stock 제대가 없어요라. 라프하고 쇼시게. The detail 가시 때여라 내기도 the patient 그 이야기 다니다 망보여 audio 다는 소. But then there's that touch, maybe it's called the feminine touch, or it was very cute things that I was like, oh 말 그래 장애인 망보도스라 표자야 장애인 망보도 승리 무슨 그룹 다니다 그룹 있다다 Chisholm 있다다라 한번 콘솔이 신경 좀 표자 신경 망보직도스. Especially on the in-person event, chick toilet and the year, who sugar good. On the event and so chicken and so good, go to get and so yakoto jos, Gabla Nondruda, Mangochik, La Mango, around the event, in-person event, Mango Toda, and the Yakotons. And then their style, and Shajik do opala. I was like, those are all cute. And last time, Beatons. Chisholm, I think Chisholm in DMC some star. In Hamo, you're a DMC human homes. So Yankee ming So I didn't know I was going to talk to Hamo, but then I was like a big fan of all the work as I got deeper, right? And the way you guys do the work is one thing, right? But also what you guys are doing is super important. Why you guys are doing is super important, right? Your mission is to spread mental health awareness within the Tibetan community. 캔서다 대 먼저 배배지서나 최대 춘보제 이네 아직 샘기 최대 강라 직 스티그마 대선도 디스 도아 로망봉이라 지금 돌나 여기 쇼줘요라 but I think there's still more work to be done, right? And you guys are doing that.
So do you relate with your own podcast, Puja podcast, and Chisholm Foundation talk show? Do you relate? Do you think you relate?
It's like similarities.
Ngadung the Pewa youth kanada. The mental health calculation you talk about the connection between the Tibetan youth in America, I think. So do you think it's kind of the same or it's different?
You mean the same mission?
Yeah.
I think your mission is a little bit more specific. I think the mission is different, right? I think the vision is the same. The vision is that we want to see young Tibetans thrive in our Tibetan community. So, me chimbuti jikbar. Around the goal the specific tire, around the mental health awareness can focus on. Onto the pebabu and chuzuna to tile ruru shedding on the tapishora. And that's why we speak in English most of the time, right? Because that's one. I mean, a lot of you guys want to come to America, but that's one problem you have in America, is that you become far away from your Tibetan community, right? Even if you want to, there's not that many avenues. You don't know what to do. 단다보도 배바지 가래지 레기뼈 올라는 상황 찹시가 하자도. 땅에서 나갔던 거 찹시가 멤버 나가 망고체요. 그래서 베직 Chisholm Foundation just. 전부 망고여라. 그래, 먼저 빼면 셰퍼랑이 지금 그 인터뷰 처럼 그런 mindfulness expert 도제 총디강 겨울에 she makes a living out of mindfulness, right? And mindfulness is the elementary school foundation of Tibetan Buddhism. Right? Things sabo yang yung marang inji den zo shu teba chi da mindfulness dela. So I think there's the big picture. There are similarities, right? But then the goal is a little bit different, right? But what is the same is that 먼저 슌게직이라 심슈직이네 심슈직이라 조금 마샤네라 네가 먼저 레규비네. I think that's something that we have in common, and that's why Samuel and I we work well together. You and I, we have good chemistry. I think that's the reason why, right?
Okay. So I watched your videos, right? And in your first video, you were talking to a friend in your bedrooms, drinking puja in a video call, right? So from that space to now, where most of the people know about Puja podcast, what has been the experience like for the? The video was posted almost a year ago. Now it's almost been a year now. So what has been the journey been like for you?
Journey has been up and down, right? Many ups, but also a few downs. One is that you would know this. You're the vice president of GTSU, right? Managing a team is a difficult task, right? Game mangu kiora. Especially GTSU mi hazir.
Almost 20 to 30
20, 30,
people.
okay. That's twice the size of Puja. For us, even like managing 10 to 15 people, it was a difficult thing because we went from 5 to like 10 or 15. So we had like a 200-300% increase in the number of people. That's one thing. Because in Kunzoyera, Monsuti logic niski miumara, Monsu longa, Ju, Nishu miura. The dinner to head in the era. Onzo Nim the Lagaching in the Zoyera, Kunzo Simshu the net to Ora. The Gotila goes the Dira, Kunzo Simshu the Lama Juedira. Lama Juedi. Some Laura, some outside in the YouTube of Soyera, Simshu Tamutamala, go to the Simshu Chumbu Shuera, Tamina. That couple there was Dolenchi to couple you do of say Tandu Simshu the net to him, net to Matuti, Gendi, the Gojigan Lewor. The 강의 직체 강의니와디 the 고급 망아 줘라 the 체체 도 고급 망아 줘 고급 망아 줘도 없어 디양 그래 심슈양 그래 아이디어인데 뭔가 오라 또 삼성 먼저 그룹 나 미팅 매와도 근데 소스라 아니 then we have to figure out we have to sit down talk for hours and hours and hours with our co-members, right, and figure it out. But that's the good thing, we did that. 먼저 굽주는 맞대요 수수수수 then we figured it out because we have a common goal, a common reason. So those are two main challenges that we faced over the year, right? But then opportunities just keep coming at our doors. 먼저 군주야 체야 저기도 한 상마야 단대보다는 매량이 찍니 쇼 총스 broadcast 용해. Then 장부슈나 I have the easiest job. I just talk to people and I have fun. My other team members, right? They have a harder job. They have to do editing. They have to market on social media, right? Make reels, clips. Those are tougher jobs. So I have the easiest job. But one thing for Puja is that we said it's an open platform, meaning that any 15 members on our team can go talk to someone, record it, and post it on our platform if they wanted to. Thing 만족이 platform 직접. 먼저 벽에 쉔게기 platform 직접. The 수인의 지초였어요. But then they're just caught up with their own responsibilities at the moment that they haven't had time for, right? But overall, it's been an amazing journey. Cubit. 한 삼성 그런 사실 전발을 두대가 없어요라. 부춘주기라. 미네소타 휴식 조인다. 눈에 찍습니다. 나 디시네라. 미네소타 되고서 부춘주 로투 된식이 그래서 체네. 조조 I watch your podcast 아니야 인생 두다. 내가 가오라. 디 가야디 그래 나게토니 가오 말다. 즉 그 무토니 나랑은 레게 춘주직 빼고 두세마지겨라. 어디 그거 통나.
Okay. Kira, the ups and downs there, but what has been your biggest up, with like from starting Puja podcast a year ago, and then now the Kira, the biggest achievement courage tanda bodu. Like, what do you think? Is there a specific person you met and you feel like, oh, I've now did it, or was it like a experience that you feel like, oh, this is the biggest up?
I think the biggest up is that 디 상황 조보임도 저거라. Then overall, ngelasa tingela 조보든 생님도 디스체 쇼도 지어라. Then disagreement 용거라. But overall, I think our bond has grown because of Puja. right? We meet each other every week on Zoom, whatever. And 그래, 무슨 토토갑수여라. the person so our bond has grown, right? And then the second thing is that one example I gave, right? These 6-year-olds are watching a little bit of Puja. Belgium I listen to Puja when I on my way to work list. I can visualize. I'm that's sort of like the impact that we wish for, and we're slowly getting there.
Okay, now we know about the podcaster Tenzin Tsedup leader, right? What about you? Like our podcast name is about me, but I really want to know about you and your life, your work, anything about your past life, where you grew up, what do you study, what colleges you go to, and what are your interests? Yeah, anything. Past life, where were you born and anything?
Virginia la kigure, right as US 랑 kigure. Washington DC le coming issue langare. Ani dijala load chukla pala amlagi masur lang longi to kes. Yeah, masur homes ashar. Ani dinga kare politics longi dinga ludundo chorsta. It felt very long. It was dark. Masur tangmo yore. It was cold. Ra. But it was good for me after looking back. 바람나이라 니 바람나이라 탁수 상보직 지어 디가 디가 없어요라 간대 요라나 저 치게나 배버 지소 디어라 더 뷰드 나가 장아이 그거 버라 그랬어 혼자 인지 투슈 두 그랬어 아니 삼모디어 딩사 교도 딩사디 인지 나가 뷰기 장고도 벽이 장고도 아니 인지 과 장장제스라 인지 투슈 도는 게 요말 투슈 줘야 그래 요말 인지 라 수진이 섭시 인지 나 그래 인지기 그래 지소지나 꼴 갭되어라 바람나 여라 때 포기한 정보상 삼았다 부딩아 배버직 소고두스 부디라 여라 경험제 대바용의 부직 소고두스 라 어디서 뭔가 마술 롱이다 마술 롱이다 아니 부든 저 셰르다 무슨 예매하고 상아 미스터 빈 이 저거지 팔아야 민하고 말 민도를 상마 라 닉네임 미스터 빈
상말 민다 랑아 미스터 빈래
말 저거 미스터 빈
랑아 지금
나 민동이여 나라 소차라니 민도여래 I think I was 소차대요 나 춘주라
kind of like Puja.
야야야야 아니 이와 땡아 암테르
Why am
그니 마음 조심 보여
알아
등산에 아무 조심 보여 등산 짜링 못 있으면 배고르다 근데 기우셨어 라 정부 총소 파마 빨라면 때 등설 라서 하고라 각보여라 빨라면 야 삼문당대에서 띵예 주보기 동해게 말에 강에게 말에 니 마술 홈자 니 그래 조고다 그 롭주 상마 망셰 계속 급주 변일 내결에 파마 샤니 내결에 파마 매교인데라 근데 삼문당대 값을 니 동해대 개 말에 삼아지도 그냥 하나 동해 초상은 초스라 강에 중상은 중스 인디 박셔로지 됐어 롱이나 뷰다 낭수신의 게 믹스 요말 그냥 박셔직 됐어 니 어디 배버려라니 디 초와 그 사변식 답스 보들라 안테 출래 나랑아라 도나도 치 그래 낭초 도나티시 뷰를 도나티시 시네 덴들레고 다 past life 라는 안 진행이 올라 출래
롱이 되네
롱이 안 좋아질래 망우시 셔대야만 니 엄마다 니 빙게든지도 샴바 망아들 로축든스들 건조
Digital kira kare kyagalle dige kare ya tanda ke you are right now in India the Delhi la yara kira kare onjela ke le deimbe ya ondi jela ta thema thangbolle
ale dijang mangbolle samsung amna nang gangdole yorda sikkim la amna nang sa jo amna le nga gangdo kiwo mendole yo ni pala nang sijan nerda am pala nang kiwot 가진이라 시제 몬코 건다 몬코 게임 심버 키와 가진 둘라나야라 팔아 공부여라 공부 키우베 공부기 tema 상기 뼈다 된저이 tema 혼조이 강도 가드나야라 커머셜 혼조 키우다야당 그래 투리스트 망아들라 총 망아야라 당신기 but 몬코 고향 so 몬코 this is 종용 사라 톨롭이야 사라 톨롭 담살라 사라 college they have a summer camp I went there yeah different summers and dunda sumsanga nima gombal de nangchu janga so I've been back and forth and this past year I've been to India like 3 times just la dunda da 고향 곳인 대한민국
Okay. And the Gombala they queue them. Is it because in US where you stay, there's not that culturally places where you can visit to? That is the reason you shig in Drudu some queue there Gomba Drudu.
직다 대인 sir. 야. 직다 대인 sir. 직 로아도라. 당신 부 춘주 레드가 땅아 춘주 라디가 도 조금 좀 시죠. 인게 구 양보 라디라 초르길 마시라. 제시게 도고 말아. 근데 구 양아 있어. 파 곰바다 된소라. 니는 아 네가 서 추라 대버려 어디서라. 추 믹스 그래 장애인데 개가 많이 직 그래 자와다 된소 콘소 메시게 당는 정아여라. 직 기우로도 콘도 동도가 없어라. 라가치도 없어요라. 슈 라가치라. 깔게이래. 그냥 기우 당도가 없어요. 자와든 기우 슈 당그러다. 그래서 박수님도 자 종용 칼라 자문도 아 종용 라 자동화 종용 틀으시니라. 한 파도 투비스 해야지요. 지금 민라 양수 민라 또 기우통.
그다음에 Gombala day line but thousands.
다스마 dunlosums.
there. Then kira only like what all did you learn? Kyo harshing is the pan the kira main lesson do thanda but kyo follow chigyo lagashina. Like I saw you reciting some prayers just before this podcast. You know, Omar Patan did lad only it's the color habit that you acquired from there only and the kind of namne.
So I dunlosum that dunlosum na mix in the 한국스타.
This is Shingdura.
This is the 낭초인 거죠라. 대배신은 최라는 가르스라. 최라디라 즉 준대교대인데 몽대리기도 조금 말해 취미 봐야는데 말해 최라디 심 교단에 들으스라. Right? It's changing your mind, right, for the better. Right? 아니 그래 these other concepts like 동방이 아니 그래 마릭바라 아니 그래 impermanence 같은 so concepts in the But then you go back to the US, right? In an environment where it's always chaotic, and you apply those concepts. And that's when you truly learn, right? Impermanence are 가리펜도요를 삼았다는 데가 없어요라. 제가 요 매기라. But then 냠는 지도가 없어요라. When you apply it in your own lives, then you're like, whoa, this makes a huge difference, right? especially nga nima temejige랑 nga 이거 약올래 마스다. 암나 봐라. 아 이거 약올래 마서. 아니 nga 가지 이거 약올래 마서. 가지 약올래 마서. 이 그야말로 미탁버릴래. 그러다가도
아니 the interviews now the thing research this make mental health the thing all be research the interview mangboling the like recent and the Dr. Richard Davidson revision ko this the meditation the psychological ke shida so kyo only kala khare the interview shimba Richard Davidson shimba kyo jawa the mangbo chisa da kyo gidina ani do you think it's a topic that excites you? Do you think it's like your only kala 장애 주고도 간다래 only kala?
It does excite me. And I guess thing 낭초여라 낭초다 된소기 통한 레사디여라 니망아 강이 존에 레겨.
Okay. What kind of issues?
그래. 빨라마 카체랑 얘기 빨라마 카체. Divorce. 라. 한 디강이 체스. 라. 빨라마 그래. 빨라마 카체 되가 없어요라. 니면은 망보기야. 카마 쳐쇼란. 그래서 로 getting a shemerda. So at that time, it was a lengthy process. It started maybe when I was 12 or 13 years old. So, think of some 롱아기 수남 쌓여다. 롱아기 수남 쌓여라. 로 getting 로 중이 적선서부터 샤메. 아니야, 네. 상계 준대데. 니 롱아 수남 쌓여디 단단한 뱅크 account 냈던다. 벌써 단계 있어. 샤메 롱아 지라. 아니 벌써 아니 뱅크 account 내마스. 냈더마스 상계 준대. 한디 가 공로로서 나게 그래 진부치 아니 바람이면도 제가 도와치 니 초와나야라 빠르게 낭미 상황 빠르게 초치기도 아마 낭미 상황 아마 초치기도 나 기마주고 라야지요 안디 내가 무슨 나들이 니 엄마여라 나 기우도 삼거든 아릴 말레는 약수를 셨어 나 진짜 좋아해요 나 오늘 나 잠바 제와도네 하고 로카시는 막 용어 쇼라지요 니면 기고 오늘 강의 슈체스 라 강의 남자다 눈수직 여유 봐라 니마 딱 버셔 로카시스 니마 딱 버셔 남자다 강의 지 여유가 없어요라 강의다 남자도 세 탑시 지기라 세 탑시 당보도 논주가 세 탑시 지기라 배셔나 가버가 간잘 되게 남자 다 거둘래나요라 알면서 폰 간자야지요 an phone addicted cha an yigyu so laptana yigyu so do the ya gone ya kangye manga chung ra it's like a downhill spiral ra it's a compounding effect but negatively ra 직 독자 총에 망아 독자 용 되기도 라 아니 그래 된 딜 사든 선생님들 딜 수야 탑시시야 된서 용 마사
Did it affect you in a way that you started losing faith? 그런 뜻이 faith in the 뜻이
absolutely 라 question 제가 딱 라라디 가신 이렇게 지만 나 된다 되니 하고 지스라 라 but that's good because then I'm like after a few years I was tired of it 라 then I needed something 그래서 탑시디 고안했어요 오케이 미상호 경험실을 슈 대바지 지기도 있어 나의 대바 열다 이마 가진 대바 저거 그랬어 라
most people don't know the reason why. We know there is the land.
Exactly. And it's not until you face a challenge, right? And suffering is that you go searching for the answer. 라 아니 경험실 걸로 망고셔 고주인 라 경험실 걸로 망고셔 고주인 제 고말 정말 최지라 동봉이 전주쌤 지지 딱 발라는 거 고마라 덴바시라니라 동해 덴바 군주 덴바 고보 덴바라니라 이 고초고마라 아니 틱레레 신이라 디갑스 밀럼 딕션이여라 밀럼 딕션 틱레레 비지체 아니 인지게나 유르 든지 상황이야 틱레레 신가 찍네 비 이렇게 줬으라 니네 라 연대디라스 아니 오늘 아뭐 백경고음시 경고제 그래 최송해다 든지 항상 지르셔 투모 많이 버지르셔서 니라 대박이에요 말다 나랑 얌nen치라 아니 sem나 강에 든서 동네 제토에 고추 sem나 녀발라디 톱스 conviction less 항상 이러셨어요 라 항상 이러셨어요 so that's how my interest began right and why it's exciting to me is because Dr. Richard Davidson the 경험시에는 they simplify it so much that it's accessible to the entire general public right. It's exciting to me because there's a possibility of change and hope. When a person can see hope, right? Meaning that kunzu susukal에 견해여라. 야가 투나 교화직 저 투그레 삼아지 kunzu 샘실 견해 랑싱 excited 체를 가리나. right? And that's why it excites me because I already know this because I experienced it, right? But they are making it easier so that other people can know, so that they don't have to go through suffering in order to find the answer, right? If they just keep an open mind, it's right there. And then Dr. Richard Davidson he brings the credibility. But then he brings the science to it. We're data driven. So he brings the science to it. He brings the images. But then 쌤 딱딱 통화 소주 오마다. but 검게다 눈선 누바기 통소에 비슷하여라. Prefrontal cortex 아니라 delay it's our executive function, executive part of the game or of our brain. 사무땅에 망시 되나요? 마치 라드가 없어요. 즉 추동 라드가 없어요. 되네 도시단계라. So 검도 신내도 검게도 mindfulness 검게도 없어. What he found out is that there's a stronger connection between the amygdala, right, which is the fear brain part of the brain. It's your ancient part of the brain, right? Amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. 눈서 대화 마마 쓰고도스라. 신발 룸부시다 민규 룸부시다 오늘 냠내칭에 망보자 오시게 되가 없어요. This is permanent. They can physically see it. It's not just it lights up in the MRI scan. There's a better, stronger connection than us normal human beings. And then when people hear that, whoa, I can change my brain. Again, possibility of hope. 라, 정신기 excited 쳐주고 그랬습니다.
Wow.
Yeah,
I do meditation once in a while. If I'm feeling very overwhelmed, overwhelmed chaga시는 제스 내가 college 내 대치되나 디파도되나 나 college 도라. 아니 college nga Delhi le tanga. It's been a year now, but at the start of my college life in Delhi, it was very hard because nga college that is travel was chigo travel chi sulle legachi. I was into different groups.
Two different groups, huh?
Different groups. I'm involved in CHISM. I'm involved with GTSU, right? I'm also involved with. I think I'm more involved with GTSU because I'm the vice president there, right? And CHISM Foundation is very. I'm only involved with the podcast thing, so less involved with CHISM. So maybe GTSU, but Okay. And nga wondi got pe overwhelm samna overwhelm chegyo nga ta dichugo calendar la di mangbudu. And I've never had that because I used to live in Dehradun. Dehradun is very calm. No opportunities, less opportunities laora. Ani ngara chido jame kiushinde nanglanya semutse. And nga ta pe overwhelm chegyo overwhelm chido jame then I do meditations. I've had some workshops I've been in. Ani wondi geta te singa meditations is chigyo.
Can I ask you so you're taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Game mango ki ora. Game mango 랑 고지로지 차라. The vice president도 고지 차라. 자, 그 고지 등조 기 position 간 레도 갑소. 남자 마 요래 sometimes lonely 요래라. Game mango ki ora. Why do you do it? Why do people do it? Why do you think they take on that responsibility? Even though it's hard, even though it's lonely.
I think it's
나 기우신데 요라.
Yeah.
유튜브 다니 릴레이션 요라. 인데시나 아람친데 요라. 인데 엄마라. 가진 있는 것도.
You meaning why do we take the stance of leader?
Yeah,
right.
why do you even though it's hard?
Yeah, it's for me I wanted to join as a member, but GDSU lakajisla nga GDSU wondi ga the president chigera wondi ngej rockpare. So she knew my potential. She knew I had a good speaking skills and all that stuff. So she needed someone like that. So I became the vice president of Delhi first. And it was very spontaneous. I was not a member. I didn't know anything. She just said, "You're very good," and I think because I have a little more experience because I'm doing masters right now, and the ones who are coming in GTSU, they are mostly young who are starting their bachelors and all that stuff. So I think I can guide them in a way that in a very different perspective way. And plus, I think. I'm very comfortable with talking in English, Hindi, or Tibetan. What I've noticed is TCV, they are good in Tibetan, but they're very shy in when they're English or public speaking in general. So I can help them as a way. And leadership, one of the reasons leadership is I get to network a lot. Tangara round ocean the Chisholm Foundation the Chisholm Foundation being a lad network share network share will talk digital GTS I get to network with different individuals in different ways. I think that's why I became a leader. I don't have a specific reason.
So two reasons. One, you like mentoring 그래 준비된서 롭소 때야 랑아직 된도야 기우두스 이어디 네트워킹 체 네트워킹 하신 기우두
networking, I'm always a very introvert. I used to be very introverted when I was in school. I think at school in Tenzin Tsedup, extrovert. I took mass communication. Right?
That's the reason why you took mass communication, because you wanted to do something challenging.
Something because I didn't know what to do, right? And journalism was never in my journalism sounded interesting because it's journalism and mass communication. And mass communication had a lot of options. I can do videography, I can do photography, I can do journalism. And I'm introverted. The extrovert mass communication is mass communication. That is the main reason. And what was the question?
Networking 가진 기호도.
Only mass communication they always say it's good to network, and I like networking because I want to meet a lot of people. I'm still young. I'm still joining. College master theory practical network and then join into different groups and rather than just staying in the classroom. Just don't stay in the classroom, do practical things, meet different people, and network every month network soon. So I think for me networking is very important. I get to meet a lot of I get to meet you, I get to meet Lamo, different people, right? And I learn from every one of them. I still think I'm very homegrown person because I used to live in Dehradun all my life, and I've stayed in Delhi for 1 year, and I'm still learning a lot, and it's very overwhelming sometimes. And I like that. I like that busy life. I like that rat race. I think it's good for me.
Scientifically, the best way to learn is to listen, but then after that teach others.
Yeah.
That's why mentoring the youth is 니가 펜도여라. 라 싱와든서야 단도여라. things 잡아여라. 망한 얘기를 니어디 라 샴발 남도 줘라. Scientifically, the research is clear. The best way to learn is to teach. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Your questions, yeah. Let's get back to you. This is the Shikran de Chura. The mental health American youth, America as a country has been suffering the color, the mental health, but they are very color commercialized mental health, I think. Commercialized
Yeah.
So in American youth, Tibetan American youth, the American thing in Tibetan youth, the mental health problems too. Have you ever heard? Or what are their problems? What are their problems basically, if you've heard?
Big one is identity. Identity 가지고 it's an internal conflict. 나 배부이 지게이 야 파마기야 파마기 제단 좀 막아 parenting 아니라 parenting 다 부당 그 파마기 대화 진주 도가 조치는 두라 가서 파마기 지 룩스저지 요라 배부 지당 시가 다 된소 보대 추수 개고 스탑저 도어 디지털 추수증이 있으면서 도어라 extracurricular activities 가리요나 요라 수주 중에서라 낭출로라. Of course, they're going to have different ideologies on there. So, mental health identity needs to be parent-children relationship needs to be overall, phone addiction is obviously one. I think so. I think drug abuse is the good. Yeah. Mix it, guys are more likely to be drug addicts than females. So for drug addicts, there's gangs. There's gangs in Toronto, and gangs are homeless. But then, I'm not sure if that's the right word. But then, people on the wrong path. In a lot in Toronto and a lot of New York that I've heard about. Yeah. Those are some big things that are going on in the Tibetan community. Yeah, and then part of it's also even if 배우 신경든서여라 지 배우 지수는 주에 탑시 지나야라 삼선 배우 지수들이 welcoming 시라 요말 나랑 Washington DC community I've only experienced welcome for the most part 나 go 수식 that's a good thing about 배우 지수 good they're very good followers to the end of the world. But on the flip of the coin,
in famous because we have a small community, famous not only for good but bad nature. It's very easy to become famous.
Exactly. Thankfully, everyone I have met, they welcome me. They say, they tell me keep on going. And sometimes it is a little pressure.
You talked about identity. The Mangbuji face sugar, not only in US, the Kala face sugar. When they can fix you, what do you think? Like, the Puja, the music for identity, the question Chidio, and fix you somebody.
Fix. Identity problem never said.
Identity crisis later.
From identity crisis, well, it depends who they want to be. Right?
Have you had that identity crisis?
I think smaller ones. So I've been blessed. But then paramma chidang khashira or lopsuk yadang den so some yabusin deimdu. Peshana paramma kare ngi chokbuden 상마여라. The sleepover lana 나후야. 조고 샴바지랑 야죠 되고. 당 보춘지가 동안 조고 샴바자 상이 조고 상마 ngi 조고 샴바지가 도나여라. 나연 전도 되어요라. paramma tamas. Mamut chetang mar. ran phebon na chubu nge chogu res la ra 디가 먼저 낭주지 가야지요. 빨라다.
But do you think it's right or wrong? Because some can say it's like palagi ngal restrict chigi dula ro jora men ta only be men nga childhood ka trauma na lai da ta khachista dukjar law mar da but just saying ki do you think it's right ki chilo to culture kena mi shimba thuga snya culture kala manga ha go ro jora ya dibi yora
yeah, this is the way they do it. Person to chou mare khatu lana yara. I don't think it's right. Natande okay. Tsedub majoda lana yara. Khari chou lana ya 부든 생기는 negotiate 줘. 야, you have to empower the ngata pama mare ina nga pama ji ina yara nga pula empower jesus empower your children ra buji yede 없어 pama da 자와 geje gaya pama pula 자와 yo na singara bude yara bu's ready to give you a hug anytime ra so you have to empower your children and one way to do that is to negotiate with them negotiate kan 되죠 to the thing around power ina okay go play chora 또 너무 다른 다리랑 조금만 맞죠. 라. 아니 가진데. 가진나 팔아 정말 인지 룩스르제 팔아야라 직선이야라 건서 먼저
두레로 타마라도 제두레로
마라도 부춘지도 타마라 땡 마라 야 겐스 차도 없어 디텐데라 디셈데 직라 인플루언스 도살리 가진 파마 치게 파마든서 구양하여라 리버럴 차요 Peba Pamadin's conservative side. Conservatism got this got, but then you have to be both liberal and conservative. Ra. Open-mindedness got, but then conviction you said in Zola karikatu deor. Ra. So puing negotiate or and Jessica Pama Kajin and you put okay. Ran Tari Joss, Ra, and next time Mados. Did Jigris. And Donna I promise ya. Nyambadun so chingma ran chuzo nya du ngigiris ra kala junk food so sagi maris da puchunji laida gemba yende 가서 다랑 창라 동거 maris ra 저거 잠바든 창라 동나야라 혼자 저거 요마 동랍라 안 수수 마동스 ra 초부인데 마치스라 negotiate 저 deal sort promise 해달라는 꾸지는 ra 꽤 조금 말 모든 점 negotiate 저 you have to give them the power and you have to feel like you're giving them the power they have to feel like they're empowered ra negotiate 저거 some good 모든 게 디 제대가 없어요라 칼이 개침셔라네 부다 파마임도 대화되어라 되길 부다 파마 대화라도 개침셔라 배선아야라 니 빨라망아 레 니 엄마를 납지 가고 있나라 니 논주지 니 그래 엄마지 논주셔나 빨라망아 다 트립 그 데레를 랍달라 이거다 금전디 나다 데렉 대화 야가요 빨라 암라다 데레래 Does that make sense? Yeah. I have a stronger relationship to my brother than my parents do to him. So it's easier for me to tell him, for him to listen to me. I negotiate with him. I'm like, what about this? What about that? Nira ran dichi machi laime. Ko sama tangchu te. Dichina affect dindusum res, right? Dichina affect positive dires. Yeah. Then you choose, right? And he doesn't always choose the right path, right?
Yeah.
No one will. But when you describe it like that, in the long run, he will. Yeah. Negotiate with your children.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you was in Puja podcast you connect with your audience, right? When you're connecting with the audience, you talk in English. So have you ever had that criticism that you are not talking in Tibetan? Because I've also had that criticism as well. Nima podcast nima the current shit something I interviewed I used to rap a little. So I used to
rap.
That was the past.
Injikena rap chore begina.
Because I used to be more familiar with English
Then Pui.
than Tibetan because nganima chunjini korta inji lapta dogyo dore and dija langara college bita college chi ngara journalism. I've never had that connection. I can talk in Tibetan, not Tibetan, but I can't read and write. So, so have you ever got that criticism? Advice?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Also, geju gupchusira. Puja podcast inchike na Puja podcast like, share, and subscribe. Mangse geju gupchu inchike na. But dirish. Nganzo criticism I only get it online. Whether on the YouTube comments, Instagram comments, I only get it online. The people who come up to me in person, no. They always tell me that my team and I are doing a great job. and and the reason is the people who take the opportunity to come up to you, right, and have a conversation, they know your mission. They know why we're doing this. Some comments they watch Puja for like 5 minutes and that's done. People who like truly listen, right, our audience who truly gives us their time week after week, they know why we're doing this. It's to engage the youth in the West. Right? 건조 눕수기 같은 식으로 쉔게든죠. 시기나 쉔게든죠라. 나 이시야 라벨동티강래 인규. 알페드 인규. 비오의 인규. 인사 보든죠. 같이 그래 아하 모멘트 있을 때도 마시라. 좀 알페 비오의 건조 고어 정말. It's too many levels above them. It's a total 뷰다 벽에든죠. 안 시다든죠. 여 그래. 따라다다다 시기도. It's scripted. Right. One, it's not completely genuine. Two, 뷰이다 벽에 있는 세 토잘. They can't understand. 찍보직 쇠살. 안타 먼저 찍보 시야 고조고 표저디. 시야 탑지시고. 시야 찍보디 시야 조금 많지? 먼저 콘서 dob스게 탑지고. 먼저 라고스면 탑지고. 대쇼다는. 다다. 라 semkhang rikpala khare thona yo ale de pemasherpa de chism foundation thamashure ra coding den zola khare thona yo tada kalden tada khommelam ai la software lead ra politics thona yo politics yo bar kumusikong so we're trying to bring them in, so people who know our mission, they don't give us that criticism, right? But for people who do get that criticism and they feel hard about it, then you have to remember why you're doing what you're doing. And you have to take criticisms seriously but not personally. 아니 삼았다고. this is 잡고 되면 돼. 먼저 제도 김석하래. 오케이 배워 된다 주고 그랬어. 벽에 this is gam나다 디기 두스라 캠케면 두스라. 먼저 심슈 this is 게 주고 그랬어. 아니 먼저 gadget 주디 먼저 벽에 나셔요. 지부지야. 랑저 gadget게 인지 말해. gadget게 벽에 나 말해. 라 Okay, then you have to wait. Okay, 벽에 this 망스 게 하고도 벽에 this 인지 this 용스 게 하고도 그래 삼았다고 그러라. So you have to use your intelligence, your logical side of your brain, not your emotional side of your brain, right? To see if what they're saying is right or wrong. Yeah. And then for that, you need two things. You need open-mindedness and then lack of ego. 나게 토에는 얘라 남사 공부 써야 남사 sempat 교회를 자 나게 자오. 안 데려 동의 공부.
I remember ngading la chicken 좀요. saying the monem도 interview 좀 nge guest team ba killer criticism kharagi dolema because she speaks in Tibetan and teaches English. So what more majority Tibetan reda ya injilab gora tangi mola criticism kharagi laja because her nge comment section is very positive. Moi gala da ngala criticism chik rai dilaja. Inji malab the pure love the latest. So her audience is about her Lorta. Lega khora inji labya reya. Inji malab the pure love laja.
I gave her, so I didn't give her criticism. Oh, go on.
criticism like midin se kita mid laja da. So I think kharibi chigashina. I think we always kharibi if you're doing something like this, if you're doing like a Puja podcast or Chism Foundation, I think we'll always get criticism. One day
Dida yor anyara midin se yora. Khari yorane psychologically they have a negativity bias. Negative bias and 가진 거라는 여라. 두어디 망아 통구 방식이 미 가진 evolution 또 저도 없어요라. 그래 따도 도면에 여라. 눈저 통나 여라. You're saving yourself, right? So negative bias your means 방식이. But then you have to understand that you have negative bias. 니 책임 좀 나게 찍으시긴 라인다. 그래 비일하면 야고 두스라. 니 feedback 되겨라. The difference between criticism and feedback is whether you have respect and love.
She said she doesn't get affected by it. She's like she understands from where that criticism is, where that is raised, but she's like I'm okay with it.
My reason that I gave her that feedback is because but then it's her teaching style. It's that she's able to connect with her audience, her youth, right? That's her personality. 뭐 시가 되어라. 믹스 해주지라. 어디서 얘기해라. 한 비밀라고도 뭐나 쉬인 봐. Yeah. But I think that's the main thing between criticism and feedback. It's love and respect. Yeah.
Okay. I think we should wrap up now. For our audience, who know about Puja podcast, who know about you, right? What is like a message, if you have any message about the Chism Foundation audience, if you have any?
Message. Nizina kangi yungur. Nizina kangi yungur. Ya ra dolen che ki nubati gechi ge yor. Ra ta kangi khari na ngamda ina je solon ina depression ina je ra nzo setur ra you need to have an optimistic and a hopeful view that if you work hard and consistently and over a long period of time, you'll get out of it. Ra nangchut ti Tsedub nzo ya nyamni chetuna yara pengir. Ra kyang je kalop this shuna pengir. And I think practically things you can do, let's say if you're depressed or sad, whatever, move the body. Right? Take care of your physical health first, right? So that means the first thing I would recommend, right? I'm speaking from experience, right? From those two things. Right? Fix your sleep schedule. Now sleep schedule because circadian rhythm is the processes in your body that regulates your sleep, right? But the second thing that it regulates is your mood. Consistency this kor, so circadian rhythm, so sleep, right? In order to get consistent sleep, go out in the morning, get sunlight, 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight. Go for a walk. That's one thing. Sunlight the signal to mikla, okay? And it sets your circadian rhythm. So that's one thing. Secondly, move the body. 1 hour per day, 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. Do that. Tsamla de. Nyungne de. Do a dopamine fast. Get off your phone. Track your phone screen time. If it's more than 8 hours, no. Your problems are going to keep on going. Tandu yara rangi solo da sempakyo adan zo nedir. Kachi ne lana phone di ngamda da denzo yudugapsu yara pa jarga dogora. The phone medugapsu, then you have to confront your feelings. That's somewhat you can be so bored, then you have to confront them. Move the body. Ani kare susu ningje gomgor susu ningje gomlade susu sembakyo thangboya sembakyo ne yara sembati lagrane gyodo. So do the things that it's easier to move the body and get healthy physically before you get mentally healthy. Another thing you can do is you already got the sunlight. This dosara. These are karchayana chu changmo isuguju. Chu changmo isuguju. Chu changmo ikari chigirelana kare niyor. Chikti yora. It increases your metabolism. It makes you alert. Kajin lana yora. Sugu changmo isuguju tegapsu yora. Rangshigi nanglo sugudunso 차아주고. Energy you're getting ready for the day. Secondly is dopamine. Dopamine power. Kidney snare, epinephrine magic, don't go. Epinephrine the caris, adrenaline chagris, adrenaline the energy antigris, epinephrine the dopamine it converts it into dopamine as well. So energy and it also improves your mood. So fix your sleep. Get off your phone, get sunlight, get exercise, and take a cold shower. Then then you can work on the mind. So I'd recommend those things if you're going through things. Then always reach out. Always reach out to Chesim, always reach out to Bodja. We're always here. Brothers and sisters.
Okay then, thank you very much for that interview, and we learned a lot. I think our viewers have learned a lot as well. Thank you.
Go support Chesim Foundation. They're doing amazing work. Like, share, and subscribe to both Chesim Foundation and Puja.
Subscribe to Puja. Yeah.
Bye.